Hey, what up, y'all? This is ASTRODIM, laying in my bed, rolling in it, getting comfy or whatever. As you know, it's my bed and astrology. What up, y'all? What up? This is ASTRODIM here, giving you the full moon forecast. Yay! We're having an Aquarius full moon happening, y'all. It's happening this week. Some more releasing to do. That's the beautiful thing about full moon energy. You always have some time to reflect on life and release what's necessary, which you should be releasing. You get what I'm saying? So it's cool shit, you know? Thank God. Anyways, this full moon is happening in Aquarius, 22 degrees and 24 minutes Aquarius to be exact. And it's happening August 15th at 8:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, I'm on the East Coast of the United States, y'all, so I have to keep that in mind, okay? So I always like to give the meaning of the full moon, of full moons in general, just in case I have any new listeners. So the full moon is basically when the moon's on one end of the earth, the sun's on the other end of the earth. And so, the sun is having the full glare, like the full light on the moon, so we can see what's popping, basically. And so that's what it is astronomically, but astrologically, this energy is important for releasing. The moon represents our emotions, our private life, or even our karmic life, right? Represents our emotions and intuition, more on the intuition of like our personal intuition on our personal feelings, rather than the intuition that you feel between another person or a collective intuition. You get what I'm saying? So that's what the moon represents. And then the sun represents our identity, our ego, our self-expression, and how we react to things. And so remember how I said that the moon's on one end of the earth, the sun's in the other? In our charts, the sun is in one end and the moon is in the opposite end, so the energy is opposite. So what's happening here is that we feel one way, but we are reacting the opposite way. Okay, now I'm going to explain a little bit more on what that means just in a minute or so, but I just kind of wanted you guys to get an understanding generally what full moon energy means. You feel one way, but you react another. It's an inner conflict, because you feel that you have to react to the sun, which is generally true. Wherever the sun is what program we need to be on as a collective. Okay, that's what we need to be focusing on. That's why we are energy of the seasons. This is why zodiac astrology is connected to the seasons. We're supposed to be in the season of the sun. Whatever the sun wants us to be in, that's what we need to focus on. But if we're feeling something opposite, then there's this inner conflict. But this inner conflict is not bad. It's actually telling us, hey, you're uncomfortable because you need to let go of something. You get what I'm saying? So it's a beautiful energy. It's necessary. The term lunatic came from full moon energy, because when the full moon happened, people would react more and they would do off the wall or uncharacteristic things, I guess. And it's because they have all these emotions inside, but they feel like they can't really express it. They have to express it in a different way, and it causes turmoil from within. Do you get what I'm saying? And so this is why, full moon energy is just really important, and it's something that you need to kind of keep in mind to be able to release what's necessary. and to kind of find a way for you to, I guess, like elevate. You know what I mean? And for you to be cool and things to be good. You know what I mean? And so I definitely wanted to include that little spiel. This particular full moon, the moon is in the third decan of Aquarius, which is ruled by Venus. And the sun is in the third decan of Leo, which is ruled by co-ruled by Mars, So we know that Leo is ruled by the sun, but it's co-ruled by Mars because it's in the third decan of Leo. Same with Aquarius. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, but it is co-ruled by Venus. Not all of Aquarius, but the third decan of Aquarius. The decans are kind of like subcategories within the sign. There's 3 for each sign, okay? Now, it's funny that the sun is in the energy of Leo, which is ruled by the sun. So, we're really getting pushed to self-express. We're really getting pushed to be more Leo energied, if that makes sense, to be about ourselves and our self-expression, our identity, our ego. But the thing is, though, is that the moon is telling us to do something different. But it's interesting, though, because the thing is that, the third decan, I always call it the more advanced decan, is the later stages of the sign, the later lessons of the sign. And so this is something that's definitely, all decans are meaningful, but this is something that's really helping us elevate a little bit more, okay? But with that being said, let me give you just a little taste of what this moon means and why this full moon is so important. For this full moon, what we need to be letting go is the idea that we always need to move as a unit, that we always need to be communal, and that we always need to consider others. And instead, we need to allow ourselves to be the star, to be the focus of the season, to let your ideas, talents, and identity shine. It's all about you, and it's okay. It's all about you having fun. It's all about you expressing yourself. And that's fine. You get what I'm saying? That's totally fine. Don't rely on others to let you know how to feel, especially if you're feeling detached or even overly sensitive at the moment. Aqua moons tend to do that, believe it or not. Natal aqua moons, where they either are so detached from their emotions, but more so they're overly sensitive to their emotions. And so they see how other people are moving within their community, within their their network. They see they're not really reacting that much, and so they play the part. And that's why Aquarius moons seem detached, but they have so much emotion inside. Or they have a lot of emotion inside, but it's deep inside, and their first layer is layers of detachment, but deep down inside they're feeling something great. And so as a unit, we may be on that vibe of looking to others to see how to feel and how to express, when we need to be just very self-expressive. There's no need to hold out. You don't need to check in with other people. This is about you, and it's okay. You know what I mean? Everything doesn't have to be logic-based, especially emotions. Go for what you want and what you feel and express that. Don't go around and look for approvals or okay. Express yourself freely, okay? Now, it's so funny because I actually saw this post, and I still agree with it. It's this post of like Miley Cyrus like dancing on Liam Hemsworth, I think that's her husband, and they were at an interview, and the interview was at like a Vanity Fair gala, so like her kind of like rubbing her butt on him during the interview, during a formal gala. Me as a Capricorn sun, a Libra in the first, Venus in the first house type of gal, I'm like, I'm feeling Chris Hemsworth in this situation. You know what I mean? And so someone was saying that too, like, this person's acting like a fool during this formal event. And then another person was saying that, hey, they should be expressing themselves. You shouldn't like push people to, tell people, like kind of like box people in so they won't express themselves. And, I agree, but at the same time with me too, self-expression is very important. Self-expression is something that I'm learning that's very important. My son is in the 12th, my Chiron's in the 5th, right? And I have Venus in the 1st. Like, I'm learning that, you need to be more self-expressed instead of holding back. I get it, right? But the thing is, though, is that people also need to be reminded that there's always a time and place for everything. You know what I mean? There's casual events, semi-formals, and formal events for a reason. Things are categorized for a reason. What we need to also be careful for is to not just totally be in the season in the sense where you're totally up saying fuck everything else. I'm just going to be of this right now, right? And so for instance, like say that situation with Miley Cyrus and her fiance happened during Leo season, and Miley was like, well, I'm going to be dancing and rubbing my butt on him in his formal event, in his interview, and look a little bit unprofessional or whatever the case is, right? Because it's Leo season, I have to express myself, and that's what I need to be focusing on. Please don't be so literal, guys. You know what I mean? Again, there's a time and place for everything, and I am a great I really feel like that's really important. You have to always remember that, yes, all the elements are important. All form of self-expressions are important. But again, we are of the earth, right? Earth energy is very consistent of doing things a certain way at a certain time and all of that, right? And you have to kind of remind, like, I'm an earthling. I'm not a firing. I'm not an airing. I'm not a watering. I'm an earthling. And yes, all elements are within the earth, but it's earth that we're talking about. We're of the 3D. Now, I'm not saying limit yourself to the 3D experience only. Of course, don't do that. But you have to always be reminded that at the end of the day, you're in 3D. And this is kind of pushing that situation, kind of reminding me that it's very important for people to find their balance. That's extremely, extremely important. Okay, find your balance and find what's good. And you can't just always fully consider yourself, but you have to consider your surroundings. And it's funny because with this energy, so funny that this conversation happened at this time. With this energy, it's saying that, hey, you need to let go of the idea that you need to look to others to know how to act, but you need to fully express yourself. And that is true, right? You do need to let go of elements that you need to look around, but at the same time, don't fool yourself and don't be so literal and take that so fully. Kind of breaking, not breaking barriers, but kind of like breaking ways of like how it used to be, take steps, right? But also, you can't just be fully self-expressing all the time, 100, not caring about the people around you. Again, finding that balance is important. So when I ask you to do these things, right, to do full moon intentions, to let go of certain things and bring in others, right? I'm telling you to do this with some sense. You get what I'm saying? I'm telling you to do this with common sense, with logic. And I want you to say, yes, I do need to be more self-expressive. I do need to have more fun. I do need to let go of always considering others' feelings all the time. But it doesn't mean you have to totally stop considering people's feelings, period. You get what I'm saying? Find that balance. All right? So it's so funny how I had a conversation and then now I'm doing this, you know what I mean? And now it's Aquarius full moon energy week right now, It's interesting how things work. And I was actually meant to do this podcast yesterday. And before I had this conversation, but things kept coming up that stopped me. And then full moon energy makes me so fucking tired too. I slept a lot too. And now the conversation happened earlier today, and it's necessary for this podcast, so I definitely wanted to add that in there too. The interesting thing too is, like, again, if we include the decans within this energy, Uranus is this full moon is in the third decan of Aquarius, which is of course ruled by Uranus with Aquarius, but the third decan is specifically ruled by Venus. And so it has the idea of always having to consider others, right? And always have to get the other person's side all the time. Again, that you don't always have to do that, but there's sometimes where you do have to do that. Find that balance. Find what you need to let go so you have room to express yourself, but don't totally negate the fact that, hey, I never can consider other people ever again. Like, that's silly. You know what I mean? But with this energy too, the sun is in the third decan of Leo, which is, of course, Leo's ruled by the sun, but the third decan of Leo is ruled by Mars too. So we need to go for our true desire, go for what makes us happy, go for our true self-expression. But again, do this with common sense, y'all. Find that balance, y'all. Don't be silly, y'all, but also have fun, okay? Now let's go ahead and talk about these aspects that are happening. So there are about like 4 aspects that are happening during this full moon that I do want to talk about, okay? So the first one is the moon, I believe. Yep, it's the moon. The moon is semi-sextile Pluto retrograde, while the sun is in conjunct Pluto retrograde. And I'm just going to pull this up in my transit chart real quick so we can talk about this, okay? Hold on 1 second. Okay, and so but this energy is really, really interesting because this whole idea of like Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, right, is that we are reflecting on our empowerment and how intimate people within our lives and intimate couplings, whether it's romantic, platonic, or business, and how they are important to our empowerment, how other people help build us up, how intimacy plays a part of our empowerment, how transformation plays a part of our empowerment. So in order to be empowered and have your power risen, you need to go through transformation, right? That's really important. We're trying to find this empowerment to gain or to have more authority or control within a certain aspect of our life, depending on where Pluto Capricorn is in your chart. You get what I'm saying? And so what we're doing with this retrograde energy is we're reflecting on that and seeing, hey, how can I empower myself more? How can I utilize the intimate relationships of my life more? How can I become more vulnerable to be in intimate relationships? How can I allow more positive transformation to come in my life? How can I handle transformations better within my life as well? Okay, so that's kind of what this Pluto retrograde energy is kind of touching on. But the thing is, though, is that this moon is all about, how can I deal with these heavy emotions that I have within and make them more logic and always consider the conscious collective. Again, this energy is something that we need to let go a little bit of. We need to let loose a little bit more, loosen up a little bit more, to not always have to consider the collective or your network or the people within your life. You know what I mean? I feel like the reason why Aquarius moons are so emotional is because they're always trying to consider the other folks within their network. And these people may not be even that, not that important to them, but these people may not have that strong of a connection with them as a friend, as a someone that is really close to them. but they are allowing them to be connected to their emotions because they're always considering them. Because how Aquarius energy moves, how they think, it's always communal. It's always thinking of others all the time. Like, for instance, with me, I'm an Aquarius rising, and that makes sense that I'm the youngest of 10 kids. I'm always like I'm the different type of youngest. I'm not spoiled. I'm always considering my siblings and what they would feel and how I can hurt their feelings. And it's that communal vibe of always considering others. And so with this energy, there's going to be kind of like some confusion here, because the thing is that, you know, you want to be empowered and have more authority over your life and control over your life, but at the same time, you won't let go of this idea that I have to consider others. In order to have more authority of your life, you need to have more control over your life. And if you're always considering what other people are thinking and the collective all the time, then you can't really focus on self to have more authority over self. You get what I'm saying? And so it's really important for you to have that balance that I was speaking on before. You get what I'm saying? So that's really important. And so it's good that it's a tough energy, but it's good that Pluto is in retrograde, because it's making you reflect on that moon energy of always having to consider others in a certain aspect of your life. So if I were you guys, I would definitely see where Pluto in this full moon energy it is in your chart, so you can see where in your life this is actually happening and how this is playing out in your life specifically. Okay, now with the sun in conjunct the sun in conjunct Pluto, this is really interesting because you know, Pluto in Leo, Capricorn and Leo is in conjunct energy. And it's so funny, as a Capricorn sun myself, I love Leos, but Leo's also my 7th house energy, so that could be it. But there is this thing where, like, Capricorn energy is more reserved and Leo energy is more expressive. And so with this whole idea, especially with Pluto being retrograde, you know, you're really reflecting on how can I show that I have more authority and control, and have more authority and control within the transformations that happen within my life, within the intimacy within my life, and to have more power within my life. And sometimes how Capricorn perceives control is saying that, hey, okay, let me just hold it all in, reserve myself, figure it out internally. That's why Capricorn always kind of like represents that straight face emoji, because like, yeah, they look straight face, but inside a lot is going on. It's that reserved energy because they always want to seem like they have some sort of control. And that's really important. But this season with the sun being in Leo is really pushing us to be more self-expressive, to not be so focused on being reserved and being in control all the time, to let loose, be the entertainer, enjoy yourself, have fun, not be so stuffy all the damn time. And so that's something that we're definitely going to be confused about too, because you know, you want to have that hot girl, hot boy summer with that Leo energy, but at the same time, you know, you are focusing and reflecting on how can I make myself have more power and authority within my life. And so it's kind of an uncomfortable energy because you're trying to figure out, how can I have it all? You know what I mean? Should I lean towards this or lean towards that? And every time I consider, you know, what should I do in Leo season type of energy, I always go with the sun or full moon type of energies, I always go where the sun is. The sun's always right. Wherever the season is at the moment is always right. Because the sun is the father. You know what I mean? The sun is the father. It's the thing that we all revolve around. So the sun is literally always right during this full moon energy. That's what we're actually pushing towards. The sun energy, to have more self-expression, to be the star, to have more light, to enjoy ourselves more. That's what we need to be focusing on right now. But at the same time, though, it doesn't mean that you have to totally drop the energy that the sun is aspecting. You know, just the sun is a little bit more important. It has, I can't think of the phrase right now. I don't know why. I think it's because of Mercury retrograde's shadow period still. But consider the sun first and then everything else later. You get what I'm saying? Anyways, let's continue. The moon is sextile Jupiter, and the sun is trine Jupiter. This is beautiful ass energy here, especially because Jupiter is going to be, I think it already is, ain't it, y'all? Yeah, Jupiter's direct now. Hey. So Jupiter's direct now, y'all. So if y'all want to hear me talk about Jupiter being direct, I'd love to talk about that. But this is beautiful ass energy here. So again, with this full moon, we may be feeling a lot. Emotions may be strong here because any contact with the moon and Jupiter, that means that emotions are really abundant, because Jupiter represents abundance, right? But the dope thing about it is the sextile energy, so it's a learning lesson within that. It's energy that are it's energy that's different, right? But they somehow get each other and can learn from each other, okay? And so, you know, with the moon being in Aquarius, and this whole idea of always considering others, and that playing with our emotions and having to let that go a little bit, you know, we're learning that, you know, with Jupiter being in Sagittarius, we're learning that how that plays a part with possibly our interest when it comes to different philosophies, beliefs, and concepts that we have and what other people have. You know what I mean? So we're not just doing this to kind of be a pushover, but we're really doing this to try to be more understanding and loving and accepting of people and things that are different. But again, this is still important for us to have a balance and to be able to express ourselves as much as we can. And we're actually learning from Leo season how we can be more self-expressive, yet, you know, somehow still consider others at the same time. And I feel like this aspect is really speaking on that. With the sun trine Jupiter, we have this big ass energy right now. We've been having this big ass energy for a while now, where we are the most self-expressive. You know, people are coming out with music and you see it happening. Energy's big, energy is strong. We are abundant with our expression, abundant with our talents, abundant with our with having fun. Like I mentioned before, Hot Girl Summer will start in August, and I've been saying this for a while. Other astrologers have been saying it for a while too. And so, you know, it's natural for us to be self-expressive. It is. And we're learning through this deep self-expression that, hey, sometimes you don't always have to think and consider other people. Like sometimes you can focus on yourself too. And you're learning that through different philosophies, beliefs, concepts, religions of the people that you deal with, and ones that you personally took a hold of and hold close to your heart, especially because remember how I said that during Jupiter retrograde, we are reflecting on the philosophies, beliefs, concepts, and cultures that we have within our lives, and if it serves us or no longer serves us. So now that Jupiter's direct, we know what's right for us, what's not right for us. This energy is actually helping us navigate how we can balance being self-expressive, but at the same time considering others too. You know what I mean? And it's also making us realize as well how we can, express ourselves openly, but keep the uniqueness within us with the people that we want to. You know what I mean? So that's definitely something as well. So it's dope energy. Jupiter touching the moon and the sun is amazing, especially it trining the sun. It's going to be easy for us to learn and let go of this concept and this thought that I always have to consider what others are doing all the time, or my network network is doing, and I'm just being me. You know what I mean? You don't have to serve the community all the time. You don't have to consider this group of people all the time. You don't have to consider your friends and your network all the time. That you could just be well within your talents, well within your self-expression, well within your identity, and that's okay, you know? The next aspect I see is that the moon is opposite Mars, and the sun is actually conjunct Mars, which is really interesting. This is pretty cool energy, because with this opposition, you know, it will give us sort of a assertion, I guess. It will make us a little bit assertive with our emotions, but in a like different way, because with this energy, it's almost like the full moon energy, honestly, is that you feel one way but you're reacting another. It's like you feel one way but you're also taking actions and focusing on something else. So it seems like, especially with this Leo stellium, that the universe is trying to push you to be more self-expressive so you can have fun and enjoy yourself, but your emotions is kind of pulling it back a little bit. But the stellium's gonna win. It got the sun in there. Okay, that's number one. Number two, it's fucking other planets in there as well. You know, so the stellium's gonna win in this situation. But what's happening here is that you feel that you have to be one way, but you're taking actions on a different way, and you're reacting in a different way. And so it's almost like the full moon energy. And so you feel that you need to be communal, but you're acting based off your self-expression, off of your identity, and you're gaining this guilt almost. Feeling like, oh no, I'm being a little bit selfish. I should be considering what other people want to do, my network wants to do. When you're not being selfish. Leo season, you can be selfish. It's okay, right? It's totally fine. Again, this is a perfect time for you to find that balance. It's not that this Aquarius energy is not needed. It definitely is needed. We do have to apply logic sometimes. We do have to consider others sometimes. We do have to focus on long-term goals sometimes, but at the same time we have to find a balance so we can be ourselves, express our identity, find out what our identity is, and have fun, and and just express, get into romance, get into dating, shit like that, you know what I mean? So you have to kind of this is like a romantic time too, because Leo and the sun is connected to romance as well, and so you have to kind of consider that, guys, okay? That I feel like possibly like you have like your network pulling you and almost guilting you, or maybe it's the way that you were brought up that's guilting you for being selfish sometimes. And again, I feel like selfish is not a bad thing. I feel like selfless is not a good thing. I feel like these energies are both neutral. And if you are a glutton with either or, then it's bad. But sometimes being selfish is good. Sometimes being selfless is good. But when you force both of them, that's when it's not good. You get what I'm saying? And so don't feel guilty, y'all, okay? It's really important. And with Mars conjunct the sun, like you're literally taking action off of your identity, off of you needing to express yourself, off of trying to have that hot girl summer. And that's what you're on, and that's what you're doing. And you might like be combative with it, almost rebellious with it. Like, oh my gosh, like I need to go ahead and express myself away, and I have to do it or I'll lose my mind. Sorry, I was distracted a little bit. But what I was basically trying to say with the Mars energy, you're going to be revved up and almost rebellious and assertive on needing to express yourself a certain way. And again, it kind of goes back to that conversation that I was having via that tweet. The other person that chimed in was like aggressive, like they have to express themselves. You know what I mean? So important. It's so important. And self-expression is important. And that speaks of this Sun Mars energy. Like, we need to just go forward, take action, and express ourselves, and it's necessary and it's needed. And at this time, yes, it is. But it's important to find that balance, because we can't forget that Mars is also opposite the moon. Okay, that we need to also consider others, and we need to consider our feelings of considering others sometimes too. Do you feel what I'm saying, y'all? So it's kind of with that, energy too. Yes, we should lean towards the sun, but it should be kind of like a 60-40, 70-30 thing, where we're not totally negating this energy, but at the same time, like, we're like are pushing more towards that sun energy. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, that's what I'm seeing with that energy. Okay, so next is the sun is also conjunct Venus, while the moon is opposite Venus. God, I'm so sorry for cutting things off. It's very Mercury retrograde, but y'all know how that shit go though. Anyways, let me continue though. So the last aspect, the moon is opposite Venus and the sun is conjunct Venus. Okay, so this is really interesting energy, because the sun and the moon is going to be conjunct exactly this week. It is at this moment. I could double check, but I'm pretty sure it is at this moment. I would say sorry for the bed squeaks, but it's my Bed and Astrology, bitches. So let me look at this real quick. Damn, my laptop restarted it while I was restarted while I was away for a second. So anyways, so Venus and the sun has been conjunct since, let me check, the 11th, right? And it's going to be conjunct for a while. They're going to be like, it's been conjunct longer than that, but I'll say this. It's been conjunct exactly since the 11th. And it's going to be conjunct exactly up until the 16th, okay? And so this is like important energy that I'm going to explain a little bit more in detail. But this is potent. The thing is that during the full moon, though, it will be the sun and Venus is going to be conjunct, and Venus and the moon is going to be conjunct at 22 degrees. As you know, 22, that's a master number, right? It comes down to 4, but also the 2 is partnership. You know what I mean? Coming together, partnership. And it's Venus is involved, Sun's involved, Leo's involved, which is all about romance and relationships, okay? So this is really important. So I really feel that this is true for people who are in relationships. What I'm about to say right now is this is what I think. I think that in order for us to have that partnership that we want, whether it's romantic or platonic or business, in order for us to be able to feel that we can express ourselves in this relationships and be able to react to things freely in relationships and to really express the romantic side within, in order for you to have that, sorry for the noise in the background, in order for you to have that, you need to let go of having to, again, look at other people to see if you're doing something right. You have to really focus on your pure self-expression and what you specifically want to do, and go off of that, not off of what you think other people are into or what other people think is right or what your network or your group or your community is focused on. You need to focus on how you want to express yourself in that relationship. But also the thing is too is that Venus is definitely connected to self-worth, and so this is you finding your worth within your self-expression as well. Your self-worth and your self-expression goes hand in hand this week, okay? And it's going to go hand in hand throughout this whole cycle, because it's the full moon energy, you know what I mean? And so with that being said, you know, in order for you to really feel worthy, you have to feel comfortable enough to express yourself. But you have to let go of this idea of having to look to others to show you how to kind of understand how you feel. You have to let go of the idea of having to be communal all the time. You have to let go of the idea that you have to reflect on the collective consciousness and to kind of make what you feel like, well, not make how you feel, but kind of make your feelings validated. You know what I mean? All those energies with air moons are about validating emotions. You know what I mean? Libra moons have to validate their emotions with one-on-one folks. Gemini moons have to validate their emotions to their logic, or even to like small groups, but more their logic. They feel like, is it logical? Is this some feeling logical, if it makes sense? And then Aqua moons feel that they have to validate their emotions with the collective, with the conscious collective. You don't have to necessarily do that. Your feelings are your feelings are your feelings. They're just as important as logic. You just define that balance. Again, the word balance, okay? And so definitely keep that in mind with this energy. But I really feel like this is real connected to any form of partnership, whether romantic, platonic, or business. But the thing is, though, is that, you know, self-worth is directly connected to you know, other worths, like material worth, or your worthiness to get the things that you want to manifest within your life. And so that has a connection with that too. You have to feel worthy enough for the relationship in order to get that relationship that you've been wanting. You get what I'm saying? And so, you know, that's really, really important. So for the folks that are looking for love, you know, it's happening. It's going to come. You know what I mean? It's going to be there. But you have to let go of having to look a certain way or be a certain way. And always like looking and worrying about your uniqueness or your unconventional ways. Always worrying about what other people think. You have to really consider how you just naturally want to express yourself, no matter if it's weird, unique, off, or what. Okay? And the thing is, even if you don't get the person that you want, I always say this to folks, right? That when you are yourself unapologetically and you express yourself freely, what you do is you kind of exude that energy out into the universe, and then you manifest the right people within your life. The right people that are supposed to be in your life, that you're supposed to learn from and that you feel comfortable with. You get what I'm saying? That's both on the platonic, romantic, and business side. And so, you know, the more that you close yourself, the more you repel the right people that need to be in your life. And the more that you repel people just in general. Unconsciously, people can sense if you are, you know, blocking yourself, and they might not get it in a logical sense. They may even understand it, but subconsciously they're like, not her, I'm going to her. Not him, I'm going to him. Or not him, I'm going to her. Or not her, I'm going to him. You get what I'm saying? It's like it's a subconscious thing that they don't even realize. And that's why, like, I always give this example. If you see two people together, one person looks like they got it all together, one person looks nah, and that for some reason the fine guy or the fine girl always go to the nah person, because the nah person knows themselves, are comfortable with themselves and expressing themselves freely, while the person that seems like they got it all together may have some insecurities that are blocking them. You know what I mean? I'm not saying all people that seem like they got it all together has that issue, but I like to use that example because, you know, there's a lot of people who, you know, people assume like, oh, you got people all over you all the time. That's not necessarily true all the time. You know what I mean? You know, if they have some inner insecurities, or if they are not expressing themselves appropriately, subconsciously people are going to not approach them. You get what I'm saying? So it's really interesting. Something that people need to consider for sure. Okay. All right, so I'm going to end this here for the commoners. Okay, let me stop. But listen, though, I'm going to do more on this, but it's going to be only for my patron folks, okay? for my patrons, there isn't any, aspect patterns, but I'm going to go deeper, patrons, when it comes to the Venus Sun combustion. That tight conjunction between the Sun and Venus, and how also Venus is opposite the moon. Like, I'm going to talk a little bit more deeper on the Venus combustion, because this is directly connected to this cycle, the 587 day cycle that Venus has. And there's this thing with Venus. It has the morning star and the evening star. At this moment, Venus is going from morning star to evening star, and so it's showing you two different sides of Venus. And so it's really, really interesting, right? And I'm going to speak a little bit more on that. It's kind of showing the maturity of the certain aspects of Venus. It gets deep and it gets interesting, and we're going to talk about that, okay? Of course, patrons, we're also going to be talking about the fixed stars that are happening. The fixed stars that are happening, how the full moon is conjuncting the fixed stars. We're going to be talking about that. And then lastly, I'm going to go through the houses. If the moon's in this house and the sun's in this house, what does that mean? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. But that's only for the patrons. Okay. That's only for the patrons. If you're a commoner, you're just going to get this and that's it. But all you commoners, so let me stop. That's so mean. I really do appreciate y'all, for real. I appreciate y'all greatly for listening to me and listening to my podcast. So much that I actually am going to do some blessing work and send you guys a blessing. So anyone that follows me within this week, you're going to get a blessing next week, within this week and next week, possibly this month, but I'm feeling like this week, next week, you're going to get a blessing. And, if you're wondering, how did I get this wonderful blessing? I probably have a little something in there. It's probably because of me a little bit, just a little bit. Okay. But yeah, thank you so much for supporting me. I really do appreciate it. I love giving. I love supporting. And I love that you do that for me. So I'm going to do a little something for you. Okay. I love you. And if you're interested in being a patron in my Patreon page, go to patreon.com/ASTRODIM'S, baby. Okay. You can also go on my YouTube. I'm gonna post something eventually. I only post these like new moon, full moon shits, but I'm gonna post something different eventually. I've been saying that I'm gonna do the Astro Tarot thing, and I never do it. I'm going to do it one of these days, child. Just keep a lookout on that. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter, IMMIDDIMMI, or you can follow me on Instagram, _AstroDim. And yeah, if you're interested in reading as well, etsy.com/shop/AstroDim. Hit a real one up. All right. Love you guys. Peace.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.